After I published my video about 3x thinking, Sleepy Fox told me on Mastodon that 3x is only half of the story. It's only half of the story because it is all about growth, about developing new things, but we also have to think about what happens at the end of the life of a feature or a product or a company. So the other half is decline, death, and decay. Hello, my name is David, and you're watching a series where I talk about software development while I'm working on my bonsai trees and pre-bonsai. This branch here has died, or to be more precise, I killed it by treating it badly, by bending it at the wrong time and by bending it too much. So this branch has slowly been dying over the last 2 months or so, when I first recognized that it was dying, until the state where it is now, where it is completely dead. And in those 2 months, I was thinking about what else I could do instead. I have just recorded another video about design alternatives where I talk more about that. But the gist here is we have to think about decline, death, and decay, which is the other half, the missing half of 3x thinking. And again, a big thank you to Sleepy Fox for coming up with this concept and for pointing me into this direction. In the picture above, you see a couple of trees from my first bonsai collection. I had to give this collection up when I moved to Germany and then to another very small flat in Linz, where I hadn't enough space to care for those bonsai trees. So all of the trees here are dead by now. Nothing lasts forever, and some things last longer, some shorter, but nothing lasts forever. In the picture here, you see old Tico. It's the oldest known tree on Earth. But the trunk that you see here is not that big. It doesn't look that old. That's because it's a clonal tree. It's a tree where new trunks come out of a very old, a 10,000-year-old root system every couple of hundred years. So this trunk here is only a few hundred years old, but the root system is almost 10,000 years old. If you would have looked at this tree 1,000 years ago, it would have looked completely different. Nothing lasts forever. Here you can see the last remaining tree from my first bonsai collection. But basically the whole tree died off. This trunk was continuing up until just about here, and everything died, everything but a single branch. The roots were very weak, so I let this branch grow to strengthen the roots, to bring back life to this tree, and I did cut the dead trunk because dead wood on a maple bonsai usually rots away very fast. It decays very fast. So here we again are in the 3x 3D model in the decay phase. So I even drilled a hole here to speed up the decay of this part so that the living part will stand out more in the future. And I let this branch grow to strengthen the roots and to thicken this portion that's still living. But eventually I want this to become the new leader, to become the new tree. So this huge branch here is just what we call a sacrificial branch, or a sacrificial trunk. I'm deliberately growing it to remove it later. So I'm already planning for this trunk to die at some point when it has done its job, and then this will take over. And also you can see here there's 2 little sycamore moth caterpillars here, and what better metaphor for nothing lasts forever is there than a caterpillar that will completely change into a beautiful moth as it grows up, and then eventually it will lay its eggs and die. So what does all of this have to do with software development? Let me tell you in a minute, while I'm working on this dead branch and while I create the deadwood feature from it. So first of all, I remove the lower portion of this dead branch, like here, because I can't do anything with that anymore. Then I will remove the bark from this branch, and while I do that, let's talk about software development. Some software products reach their end of life. A few months ago, Microsoft stopped Skype, which was huge when it came out. I remember when I first used Skype, I was thinking, oh my God, this is a big thing. It was like nothing there was before. It just the ease of use and how well it worked. I honestly, if you told me back then that Skype would at a certain point decline into something that's not useful anymore compared to their competitors, I probably would not have believed you. But then it did decline. Some of it was the fault of the companies that were behind Skype at different times, at different points in time. Some of it was just competitors having a better product, and now it's gone. Sometimes even complete software companies decline and then die. That's actually normal. We still have to wind things down in a controlled manner. We have to think about what happens to the assets of those companies, what happens to everything that existed in those projects, what happens to the people there. I was in one project in the past that was just ended by a management decision, and then within just a few days, we had to wind down the complete project, document everything, archive everything, and then most of the people were gone. They are now in different companies or in different projects of the same company, and I still have contact with some of them even years after that. In this case, many people didn't see the decline coming, although there were already efforts on the way to rescue this project. They just came too late. But then there was death, and the decay, the aftercare, was to archive everything, to document everything, and also that the people from the project found different things to do, and they also still have contact with each other, at least some of them. Now, I'm trying to make this Deadwood a little bit more interesting by removing this cut point and make it look more natural. I will just tear some fibers from this Deadwood feature apart. This will make it look a little bit more natural, even though it's a very small cut point and already only barely visible. It doesn't always have to be a complete company or a software project that's dying. Sometimes we just have features that outlived their usefulness. Or we have put code in place that we don't need anymore. That's a little bit comparable with the sacrificial trunk I had before, something that I deliberately grew to remove it later. We have sometimes something like that in software too. We sometimes call that technical debt, where we have to add something for a reason, maybe to get better feedback faster, or some interim code that we need to transition from one design to another, where we already know when we write the code that we will have to remove it later, just like the sacrificial trunk before. And also then we have to plan for the decline of this code, for its death, and what to do afterwards for the decay. With this branch, I've turned it into a Deadwood feature. In bonsai, we also call this a chin. And right now it has this bright brown color. I will let it dry out a little bit and then treat it with lime sulfur so that it becomes more durable and that it gets a brighter grayish whitish color. So that's the aftercare here. I don't want this to decay, but I still have to care for it after removing the branch. 3x thinking, you remember, is all about growth. We explore new ideas, we create options quickly, we optimize for feedback, then we expand the ideas that are working, and then when we know they are working, we try to extract value from them. But as Sleepy Fox said, this is only half of the story. And the other half is, what do we do when we reached the end of life of something, of a feature, of a product, or of a complete company? Then we have 3 more phases. Decline, where we C, things are not working anymore and where things are getting worse. Death, where we stop the thing, the feature, the product. And decay, the aftercare, the postmortems, finding new things to do, planning new features for the software. And together, explore, expand, extract, and decline, death, and decay form the complete cycle of a feature in software development or a product, or also of parts of our bonsai trees or of the whole tree. If you liked this video and if you want to see more content like that, please hit the like button and also hit subscribe. And don't forget to also enable notifications. Where have you personally seen that the other half of the story, the decline, the death, and the decay, are important? Have you seen this part of the life cycle of a feature or of a product managed extremely well or extremely badly? Tell me your stories in the comments. I love reading them and I really like discussing with you all. You can also contact me on Mastodon. And I'll see you next time with this tree or with a different tree and with a different topic about software development.